The right window treatments change everything: your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 five-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 45% off with minimum purchase, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
Good morning. This is Mike Stoller for the Stoller Real Estate Report. Midtown South rezoning. What's happening in Midtown South? A lot of things are happening, and I have a person who's a specialist on Midtown South. I have Howard Raber, who is a director at Ariel Property Advisors. Thanks for being here.
Hi, happy to join. Very excited.
So tell me what's going on in Midtown South.
What's not going on? There's a lot happening. The rezoning there, where you're taking the M zones, which was the light manufacturing, and the city is now allowing for the residential overlays, and you change that to a C zone for mixed-use buildings, allowing now to take these old garment center type loft construction buildings and making them into something different and bringing a little new character to the area.
Mostly residential?
There'll be residential buildings, mixed use, so you'll have retail on the ground, and then you will have residential up top for rental properties.
Now, are you getting additional zoning rights?
You are. You're getting an FAR bump. So if you're looking at your floor area ratio of, it can go up to an 18 or a 21.
What for my listeners, what does that mean?
Sure. So if you're looking at your larger buildings, and if you're saying I have a 50,000 square foot building, and then if I'm going to develop something new, they're going to say, you know what, because you're building to this residential with affordable housing components, you're going to get an extra percentage on top of that 50,000. So it could be another 20%, depending on your block and your zoning for that area. So now you're saying, wow, I can actually go from to 75,000 square feet, depending on what this property is.
So do you have to knock down the property?
So it depends on what you want to do. There's different options here. So the 467M program is what the city brought in, is allowing for an office to resi conversion. So you're going to see buildings that were from light manufacturing use, and if the floor plate is right, you convert that building to residential without having to take the building down and work within the confines of that existing building. Or if you find the building is not suitable for conversion and it's a good lot size for development, it's efficient with your width and everything else that goes with it, you can take the building down and do new construction at that higher FAR count, floor area ratio, and you would have, again, also that affordable components that go with it per the city of yes.
Now, with regard to this MX program, it covers the properties from 23rd to 40th Street.
Correct.
Talk to me about that.
Sure. So what's happened historically is that it's the Garment District, it's Penn Station area, it's these four quadrants kind of ranging from that area and those locations. And for a while, going back even to Mayor Bloomberg, they were trying to figure out a way to revitalize the neighborhood as the need for the theater district type of manufacturing, of costumes and things of that nature, there wasn't a need for it anymore. And you had to find a way to repurpose these older buildings. And so at the time, there was a pushback on residential, but they allowed for hotels. And then, as we all know, there's a little surplus of hotel development. And then there's still a pushback for residential. Finally, there's been that negotiations, and that's why you look at these quadrants. Some areas still have to keep that light manufacturing zoning. As part of the negotiations.
Specifically, which areas?
You're looking on 8th Avenue in the 40s, like along the Port Authority area. Certain areas over there, they've kind of kept that requirement for keeping it as a light M, an M1 type of zoning. But you still have a number of these from 5th Avenue to 8th Avenue that are going to be this new C zone type of MX zoning.
So let's talk about specifically some of the buildings that are being converted.
Sure. So one of the buildings that actually we just, that our capital services team arranged for the financing, 29 West 35th Street. And you're talking about a building that was an office building, 50 feet wide, and it was sold for about $320 a foot. They're going to be converting the building to 107 residential units. And I think, that's going to be...
All one bedrooms?
Generally, yes. Large one bedrooms. And the test case there is going to be, if they're successful, which I think a lot of people are believing that it's going to be successful based on the correct floor plate and cost and everything that goes into it, that it's going to spur on, I think, the domino effect for other projects.
Which other projects do you see?
It's a good question because I think it's going to be a block-by-block analysis, is that I think investors and developers are looking at each building, and it's tough to pinpoint a building because you have to actually understand where are the columns and what is the brick made of, and that makes it conducive. It just might be better to take it down. I think what's going to be interesting is not so much the bigger buildings. It's going to be like on 36th Street on the other side of 35th. You have a lot of and actually on 35th, you have a lot of these smaller 25-footers. We all know them, right? They had a little restaurant in the ground, and they had some offices up top where you have an accountant or whatever it is. But you have these 25-footers that can never do anything. But now all of a sudden, you're giving the opportunity to say, listen, if you have 3 lots together, I all of a sudden have a new 75-foot wide development site that I didn't have last year.
Now, what tax advantages is the developer getting?
So you're getting on the 467M, if you did the office to conversion, to resi conversion, you are getting an abatement of about, I think it's like 60% of the taxes for about 30 plus years, depending on when you get it in. And then it goes down by your deadlines. It could be 25 years, depending on when you get those deadlines in. But you are going to get, if you do the affordable component with the City of Yes and everything else goes, every other program, you will get a tax benefit very similar to the 45X program, where you're doing that type of affordability, and you are getting those tax breaks.
Okay, specifically, what are the tax breaks? Over a period of time?
Yes, it would
number of
be,
years?
I believe about 25 years, 30 years, depending on which program you're following in.
And which developers have been taking advantage of this so far?
So far, well, so Marty Berger and his partner are doing 35th Street. You're seeing, I think citywide, you are seeing projects happen on 3rd Avenue on the east side in the office building. You're seeing those office buildings perhaps start coming into play. I'm trying to think of a Silverstein who bought on 3rd Avenue that is going to be taking advantage. But you look at, let's see, Financial District. I'm sorry, I'm trying to blank on the family name all of a sudden. They bought the Pfizer building. I'm drawing a blank. Give me a second here. It's going to hit me later. They developed on the Financial District, and now they're doing on 42nd Street, and they're taking advantage of these breaks as well.
Right, they're also specifically the Pfizer building.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
What about the retail impact?
Retail's going to be a positive. It should be, because now what you're doing, you're changing the nature of the neighborhoods, and you're allowing for retail to take advantage of a 24/7 type of audience, as opposed to a 5-day a week or a 4-day a week, or depending on what your block is with hotels and a certain type of demographic. If you start bringing in residential for that full-on exposure, the retail itself will take a good, advantageous boom to it.
What about the hotel industry?
Hotel industry, listen, that's been coming back strong. You know, if you're in the right area, Midtown, they've actually been doing good occupancies. I believe they're at that 90% occupancies, if not better, in the Midtown area. Other parts of the city, maybe not, but New York itself has been doing stronger on the retail, on the hospitality side.
Now, what about the, not the hospitality side specifically, the conversions of some of these office buildings into residential? For example, the church building on the corner of 56th Street and First Avenue.
So you're looking, right. So your question is in terms of the attraction of it?
Right.
So that is something that...
I mean, they're not knocking it down. They're just...
Right. There's repurposing. The same way that Van Barton is doing it with the Archdiocese office, right? They're taking those buildings and they're going to convert...
that's the specific building we're talking about, the Van Barton building.
Right. So what they're going to be doing is they'll be taking advantage as well. I don't know exactly their business plan, but when you talk about these large buildings, it's the right floor plate, right? You know, you take something that has character to it, and if it makes it easier to your timeline, I think it's you want to facilitate that timeline. Is that sometimes with ground up development, it could be longer because you need certain approvals to go into it. With the City of Yes, developers have been commenting that it is more streamlined now, and it's been an easier process. However, when you take the existing bricks, and if those buildings are conducive to a quicker sellout period, it's going to be investigated.
Okay, and all of these are residential right now. We're not talking about any conversions into condominiums, are we?
Well, The 467M you're talking is in the Garment District area. That's going to be residential in terms of rentals. The new zoning is not allowing for condos, or no one's figured out yet how to do condo because of the requirements there that are going into the affordable components to it.
And what are the requirements?
You're required to have in that new zoning, you're looking at, let's see, it's on your 60% of the AMI. So 25% of the building has to have that 60% AMI calculation to it. And then also the requirements are there for rental. And then developers will be using, hopefully they think, the 45X. The problem with the 45X, as I think a lot of people know, is that it's capped at 99 units. When you talk about getting the benefits and then requiring the prevailing wage is over 99 units. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the larger projects if they decide to build 2 buildings instead of 1. So if you have a 100 by 100 lot assemblage in that area with the new rezoning, they may want to take advantage instead of 2 smaller buildings to avoid the prevailing wage requirement, but they still want to get the rental aspect to it.
Okay. So it seems like an interesting time.
Yes, I would think so.
So give me your outlook for the end of 2026.
I think what's going to happen is that there's optimism in the market. And I think what's going to happen here is that from a buy side and a sell side, I think from the buyer side is that when you look at pricing in that area, as a developer, it's going to be cheaper. So if I'm a developer building condos, I'm looking at pricing in Manhattan at $400 a foot, $425 a foot average. You know, depending on the area. Listen, we know Legion paid $1,000 a foot plus in Gramercy,
right?
But other areas, Financial District is going for $250 a foot. So it depends where you are. But developers can say, you know what? If I can go to Garment District and I can get property for less than $300 a foot and build rentals, that brings more people into the pool. From a sales side, you're now looking at owners that never had the ability to do anything with their property. From if they had a 10,000 square foot building, and all of a sudden they now have the value of a 17,000 square foot development site, that's a different calculus, and it also expands the buyer pool for them as well. So there could be a great synergy from the buy and sell side that you don't see in other areas.
So in general, it looks like the outlook is good. I'm very happy that Howard has joined me today, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.